What if everything you believed about Jesus' return was completely wrong? What if the truth was so different, so shocking, that it would shake the very foundations of your faith? Today, I'm going to share with you the incredible story of Sarah Martinez, a 34-year-old nurse from Barcelona, Spain, who died for 17 minutes and returned with a message that will change everything you thought you knew about the second coming of Christ. But before we dive into this life-changing testimony, I need you to do something. I need you to open your heart and mind to what you're about to hear, and I need you to engage with this story. Throughout this video, I'm going to ask you questions that will challenge your beliefs, questions that will make you think deeper about your spiritual journey. So please, write in the comments below. What do you currently believe about Jesus' return? Are you ready for your beliefs to be challenged? Sarah Martinez lived what most would consider an ordinary life. Every morning, she would wake up at 5:30 a.m. in her small apartment overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. The smell of fresh coffee would fill her kitchen as she prepared for another 12-hour shift at Hospital Universitari Vall d'Hebron. She had been a cardiac nurse for 8 years, dedicating her life to saving others. But deep inside, Sarah was struggling with her own spiritual heart condition. You see, Sarah grew up in a traditional Catholic family. Her grandmother would take her to Mass every Sunday, where she learned about Jesus, heaven, and the promise of his return. But as she grew older, as she witnessed suffering and death daily in the hospital corridors, doubts began to creep in. Was Jesus really coming back? And if he was, why was there so much pain in the world? Sarah's husband, Miguel, worked as a construction engineer, and they had 2 beautiful children, Elena, 7, and Carlos, 5. They lived a comfortable middle-class life. But Sarah often found herself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering about the deeper meaning of existence. She would pray, but sometimes it felt like her prayers were hitting the ceiling and bouncing back. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like your prayers weren't being heard? Have you ever questioned your faith while going through difficult times? The questions tormented her. If God was real, if Jesus was coming back as promised, why did she see children dying in her hospital? Why did good people suffer while evil seemed to prosper? These weren't new questions, but for Sarah, they were becoming increasingly urgent. She needed answers, but she never imagined those answers would come in the way they did. On March 15, 2024, Sarah's life changed forever. It was supposed to be a routine day off. She had planned to take Elena and Carlos to the beach, to build sandcastles and collect seashells. The Mediterranean was unusually calm that morning, with gentle waves lapping against the shore of Barceloneta Beach. The children's laughter filled the air as they played in the shallow water, their joy infectious and pure. But at 2:47 p.m., everything went wrong. Sarah was watching her children play when she noticed Elena had gone too far into the water. A rip current, invisible but deadly, had caught the little girl. Without hesitation, Sarah plunged into the sea. She was a strong swimmer, but the current was stronger. As she reached Elena and pushed her toward the shore where Miguel was already wading in to help, Sarah felt herself being pulled deeper. The last thing she remembered was the taste of salt water filling her lungs, the burning sensation as she fought for air, and the terrible realization that she might not make it. The Mediterranean, which had always been her place of peace, was now claiming her life. What happened next changed everything Sarah believed about life, death, and eternity. The pain stopped instantly. One moment, Sarah was drowning, her lungs screaming for oxygen, her body fighting against the crushing weight of water. The next moment, there was nothing but profound, overwhelming peace. It was as if someone had wrapped her in the warmest, softest blanket imaginable. But this blanket was made of pure love. She found herself floating above her own body. Below her, she could see the frantic efforts of the lifeguards who had pulled her unconscious form from the water. Miguel was performing CPR, his face twisted with desperation and fear. Elena and Carlos were crying, held back by strangers who had formed a protective circle around the scene. But Sarah felt no urgency, no fear for them. She knew somehow that they would be okay. The peace was indescribable. Imagine the most content you've ever felt in your life, then multiply that by 1,000. There was no pain, no worry, no doubt. Just pure, infinite love surrounding her like an ocean of light. But then, something extraordinary happened. Sarah began to move, not through space as we understand it, but through dimensions of existence she never knew existed. She was traveling through what can only be described as a tunnel of light, but this wasn't just light. It was living light, pulsing with intelligence and love. I want you to pause here and think about this. Write in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment of perfect peace? When was the last time you felt completely free from worry and fear? As Sarah moved through this tunnel, she became aware that she wasn't alone. There were others with her, beings of light that radiated love and wisdom. But one presence stood out above all others. As she approached the end of the tunnel, a figure began to materialize before her, and she knew, without any doubt, that she was in the presence of Jesus Christ. But this wasn't the Jesus she had seen in paintings or stained glass windows. This was Jesus in his true form, radiating such pure light and love that words fail to capture his essence. His presence was both gentle and powerful, familiar yet awesome beyond comprehension. When he spoke, it wasn't with words, but with direct communication to her soul. "Sarah," he said, and hearing her name spoken by the creator of the universe filled her with indescribable joy. "You have served faithfully, caring for my children in their time of need, but I have something important to show you." And then, the revelation began. Jesus took Sarah to a place that can only be described as existing outside of time. Here, she could see the past, present, and future all at once, like viewing a vast tapestry from above, where every thread was visible and purposeful. "My child," Jesus said, "humanity has misunderstood my return. They expect me to come with judgment and wrath, to separate the sheep from the goats in the way they imagine. But my return is not about condemnation, it's about completion." Sarah watched in wonder as Jesus showed her the true nature of his second coming. The visions she saw challenged everything she had been taught. "I am not coming to destroy," Jesus continued, "but to fulfill, not to judge, but to awaken. The kingdom of heaven is not a place you go to after death. It's a state of consciousness that humanity is ready to achieve right here, right now, on earth. This is where it gets revolutionary, friends. Are you ready for this truth? Write in the comments if you're prepared to have your understanding of Jesus' return completely transformed. Jesus showed Sarah that his return wouldn't be a single dramatic event in the sky, but rather a gradual awakening of human consciousness to divine love. He revealed that the end times weren't about the end of the world, but about the end of the old way of thinking, the end of separation, the end of fear-based religion. "Look," he said, and Sarah saw visions of people around the world beginning to understand that they were all connected, all part of one divine family. She saw Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, and people of all faiths, realizing that they worshiped the same God of love, just through different paths. "But Jesus," Sarah asked, "what about the prophecies? What about the tribulation, the rapture, the judgment day?" Jesus smiled with infinite compassion. "My child, these prophecies speak of spiritual truths, not literal events. The tribulation is the difficulty humanity faces as it lets go of old patterns of hatred and fear. The rapture is the lifting up of human consciousness to divine awareness. The judgment day is not when I judge humanity, but when humanity finally sees itself clearly and chooses love over fear." Sarah was shown that Jesus' return was already happening. Every time someone chose love over hate, forgiveness over revenge, compassion over indifference, Jesus was returning through them. Every act of kindness, every moment of genuine prayer, every gesture of selfless service was part of his second coming. "I am returning through my people," Jesus explained, "through every heart that opens to love, through every soul that chooses to serve rather than be served. This is how the kingdom of heaven comes to earth, not through conquest, but through transformation of human hearts." But then came the warning, the urgent message that Jesus needed Sarah to bring back to the world. Jesus showed her that humanity was at a critical crossroads. The old religious structures based on fear, judgment, and separation were crumbling, and this was causing many people to lose faith entirely. But this wasn't a bad thing. It was necessary for the birth of true spirituality. "Tell them," Jesus said urgently, "that they must not lose hope when they see churches dividing, when they see religious leaders failing, when they see traditional beliefs challenged. This is part of my return, the clearing away of what is false so that what is true can emerge." Sarah saw that many people would resist this transformation. Some would cling to old interpretations of Scripture that emphasized judgment and exclusion. Others would reject spirituality altogether, thinking that the failure of organized religion meant the failure of divine truth. This is the great deception, Jesus warned. The enemy of love wants people to believe that if their religious institutions fail, then I have failed. But institutions are not me. Doctrines are not me. I am love itself, and love can never fail. Here's where I need you to really engage with this message. In the comments below, tell me, have you ever felt disillusioned with organized religion? Have you ever wondered if your faith was strong enough when you saw religious leaders or institutions fail? Jesus revealed to Sarah that his true church wasn't a building or denomination, but a living network of souls who had awakened to divine love. These people might never meet in the same building, might never call themselves by the same name, but they were connected by something deeper than doctrine. They were connected by love. My return is not about establishing a new religion, Jesus told her. It's about ending the need for religion as humanity has known it. When people truly understand that they are my beloved children, when they know beyond doubt that they are loved unconditionally, when they see that everyone around them is their brother or sister, then my work on earth will be complete. But Sarah also saw a warning about false prophets and misleading messages that would increase as this transformation accelerated. Many will claim to speak for me, Jesus cautioned. They will use fear to control people. They will say that my return means punishment for sinners, war between good and evil, the destruction of the earth. Do not believe them. My message has always been the same. Love God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. Anyone who teaches otherwise does not speak for me. Jesus showed Sarah specific signs to watch for in these final days, before his return was complete. These weren't the signs she had been taught to expect. The first sign was the rise of unconditional love in unexpected places. She saw people helping strangers without thought of reward, enemies becoming friends, ancient hatreds being healed by forgiveness. The second sign was the breakdown of barriers between different faith traditions. She saw Christians and Muslims praying together, Jews and Palestinians embracing as brothers, Hindus and Christians recognizing the same divine truth in their different practices. The third sign was the emergence of young people who seemed to naturally understand these truths. Children born with an innate sense of unity and love that older generations had to struggle to learn. These are my signs, Jesus said, not earthquakes and wars. There have always been earthquakes and wars. My signs are love breaking out everywhere, unity emerging from diversity, hope rising from despair. I want you to think about this deeply. Have you seen these signs in your own life? Have you witnessed unexpected acts of love and unity? Share your experiences in the comments below. But then came the most shocking revelation of all. Jesus told Sarah that the greatest obstacle to his return wasn't sin in the traditional sense, but the very beliefs that many Christians held about his return. When people expect me to come in judgment, he explained, they close their hearts to love. When they expect me to condemn others, they become condemning themselves. When they expect me to bring division, they create division. Their expectations actually delay the very thing they pray for. Sarah saw that many sincere believers, in their eagerness for Jesus' return, were actually working against it by promoting fear, division, and judgment. They were like people praying for rain while holding umbrellas, their very actions contradicting their prayers. This is why I need messengers like you, Jesus told Sarah. People who can help others understand that my return is not something to fear, but something to celebrate. Not something that will happen to them, but something that will happen through them. Jesus showed Sarah that the timeline for his return wasn't fixed. It could happen quickly if enough people opened their hearts to love, or it could take much longer if humanity resisted this transformation. Every person who chooses love accelerates my return, he explained. Every act of forgiveness brings the kingdom of heaven closer to earth. Every moment of genuine compassion is a prayer for my coming that I answer immediately. But time was growing short. Sarah could sense an urgency in Jesus' message. The world was facing challenges that could only be overcome through the unity and love that his return would bring. Climate change, wars, poverty, division. These problems were too big for any one nation or religion to solve alone. They required the whole human family working together as one. This is why the message is urgent. Jesus told her. "Not because I am coming in wrath, but because I am coming in love. And love is exactly what the world needs right now." Write in the comments, what challenges do you see in the world that could only be solved by humanity working together in love? As this incredible vision began to fade, Jesus gave Sarah her mission. "You must return," he said. "Your time is not yet finished. I am sending you back to share this message, not just with those who already believe in me, but with everyone who will listen. Tell them that my love is bigger than their religion, wider than their understanding, deeper than their fears." Sarah felt herself being pulled away from this place of perfect peace, and part of her wanted to resist. The love she had experienced was so pure, so complete, that the thought of returning to a world of pain and struggle seemed almost unbearable. "I don't want to leave," she told Jesus. "I want to stay here with you." "And you will," he promised. "But first, you must help others find their way home. Remember, wherever love is present, I am present. When you show love to others, you bring them into my presence. When you speak these truths, you are my voice. When you serve with compassion, you are my hands." He touched her forehead, and suddenly she was filled with a download of understanding, a deep knowing of truths that her mind couldn't fully grasp, but her soul would never forget. "Go," Jesus said with infinite tenderness. "Live this message. Don't just speak it. Show people what it looks like when someone truly believes they are unconditionally loved. Demonstrate the peace that comes from knowing everyone is your family. Be the change that signals my return." The next thing Sarah knew, she was gasping for air on the beach, surrounded by paramedics and the relieved faces of her family. She had been clinically dead for 17 minutes, but the doctors would later call her recovery miraculous. There was no brain damage, no lasting effects from the drowning, only a profound transformation that everyone around her could see. But the real challenge was just beginning. How do you explain to a world divided by religious differences that Jesus' return isn't about victory for one side over another, but about the recognition that there are no sides? How do you tell people who have built their entire identity around being right about doctrine that love matters more than being right? Sarah faced ridicule from some religious leaders who called her message heretical. She faced skepticism from family members who worried she had suffered brain damage from lack of oxygen. She faced her own doubts when the profound peace of her experience seemed so far from the daily struggles of her normal life. But she also found something extraordinary. When she shared her message with an open heart, when she spoke about the unconditional love of Jesus that she had experienced, something shifted in people. Hearts opened, walls came down, enemies became friends. She started speaking at small gatherings, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. Word spread through social media, through personal networks, through the mysterious ways that important messages travel in our connected world. And something amazing happened. People from different faith backgrounds began reaching out to her, sharing their own experiences of divine love that transcended religious boundaries. She heard from Muslims who had experienced Jesus' love in their prayers, from Jews who had felt Christ's presence in their synagogues, from Buddhists who recognized the same unconditional compassion she described. Tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced divine love that was bigger than the religion you were raised in? Have you felt connected to people of different faiths through shared spiritual experiences? Sarah realized that Jesus' return was already happening all around her. Every time someone chose forgiveness over revenge, every time an act of kindness bridged a cultural divide, every time love conquered fear, Jesus was returning through human hearts ready to receive him. But she also saw the resistance. She met people so invested in their version of end-times theology that they couldn't accept a message of love and unity. She encountered religious leaders who saw her message as a threat to their authority, their fundraising, their relevance. "If Jesus returns in love and unity," one pastor told her angrily, "what happens to the need for salvation? What happens to the urgency of getting right with God?" Sarah smiled with the same compassion she had felt from Jesus. "The need for salvation doesn't disappear," she explained. "It gets fulfilled. The urgency doesn't go away. It increases. But we're not trying to save people from God's wrath. We're trying to help them discover God's love. We're not threatening them with hell. We're inviting them into heaven, right here, right now." This is the message that Sarah brings to the world, and it's why I'm sharing her story with you today. Jesus' return is not what we've been taught to expect. It's not about some of us being taken up while others are left behind. It's not about Judgment Day in the way we've imagined it. It's not about the end of the world. Jesus' return is about the beginning of a new world, a world where love defeats hate, where unity overcomes division, where the human family finally recognizes itself as one family under God. But here's the crucial part. This return depends on us. It's not something that happens to us while we wait passively. It's something that happens through us as we actively choose love in every situation. Every time you forgive someone who has hurt you, Jesus returns a little more. Every time you show kindness to a stranger, Jesus returns a little more. Every time you choose unity over division, understanding over judgment, hope over fear, Jesus returns a little more. This is the truth that Sarah Martinez brought back from death. This is the message that could change everything about how we understand faith, how we treat each other, how we face the challenges of our world. But I need to know, are you ready to be part of Jesus' return? Are you ready to let go of old ideas that divide us and embrace the love that unites us? Write in the comments and tell me, what's one way you could show the love of Jesus to someone different from you this week? What's one step you could take to help heal division in your community? The woman who drowned in the Mediterranean Sea and returned with a message of hope is still alive today, still sharing this revolutionary understanding of Jesus' return. Her children, Elena and Carlos, are growing up with a deep understanding that all people are their brothers and sisters, that all faiths are different paths to the same God of love. Her husband, Miguel, initially skeptical of her experience, has become one of her strongest supporters as he's witnessed the transformation in their family, their community, and everyone who hears this message with an open heart. Sarah's story reminds us that sometimes God's truth comes in ways we don't expect, through people we might not expect, with messages that challenge everything we thought we knew. The question is, will you be open to receiving it? If this message has touched your heart, if it's challenged your thinking, if it's given you hope for a different kind of future, I need you to do something. I need you to share this story, not because I want more views or subscribers, but because this message needs to reach as many hearts as possible. Think about someone in your life who has lost faith in religion, but still hungers for spiritual truth. Share this with them. Think about someone who is afraid of the end times, worried about judgment, scared of not being good enough. Share this with them. Think about someone from a different faith background who you've always wanted to have a deeper spiritual conversation with. Share this with them. Write in the comments below, who is one person you know who needs to hear this message of hope? Don't name them, just describe how it might help them. And if you've made it this far in the video, if you've stayed with Sarah's incredible journey from the beaches of Barcelona to the presence of Jesus and back, then you know this isn't just entertainment. This isn't just another story. This is a call to transformation, an invitation to be part of the most important event in human history, the return of divine love to a world that desperately needs it. The choice is yours. Will you be part of the problem or part of the solution? Will you contribute to the fear and division that delays Jesus' return? Or will you be an agent of the love and unity that accelerates it? Sarah Martinez died and came back with a message that could change the world. But messages only change the world when people receive them, believe them, and most importantly, live them. Your life, your choices, your capacity for love, these are not small things. These are the very instruments through which Jesus returns to earth. The question that will determine your eternal significance is not whether you're ready for Jesus to return. The question is, are you ready to be the way he returns? Write your answer in the comments below. And if this video has impacted your life, if it's given you a new understanding of faith, hope, and love, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. Because Sarah's story is just the beginning. There are more testimonies, more revelations, more messages of hope that the world needs to hear. The transformation has already begun. The only question is whether you'll be part of it. What will your answer be?